My guest today on the Crested Butte is Home podcast is Mary Boddington. And for those of you who don't know Mary, she is an incredible snowboarder. So we talk about her career in snowboarding that brought her to Europe to compete there. But we also talk about what she's doing these days. And these days, she is the newest owner of the Talk of the Town bar on Elk Avenue in Crested Butte, which has been the locals' watering hole for decades. So, great conversation with Mary today. I hope you enjoy it. It's hard to believe this is episode 11. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and if you are, please share it with your friends. And also, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks, and let's get on with the show. Today on Crested Butte is Home, we are here with Mary Boddington. And Mary, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, and how you got to Crested Butte?
Absolutely. I grew up in Colorado Springs, born and raised in the same house that my parents still live in. And I graduated high school and stuck around there and worked for a little bit. Wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. College was always in the works, but I did decide that I wanted to come to the mountain town to snowboard every day for at least one winter. And then, like everybody else, I came here and stayed for a summer and haven't left. And it's been 14 years now.
How'd you end up here versus some other?
That's a good question, because even though was just in Colorado Springs, which is right over there, for the longest time, front rangers didn't really know about Crested Butte.
Yeah.
And I just rode like A Basin and Keystone, and because that's also closer, you can do day trips.
Yeah. Totally.
We're just far enough away that, and that's what's so awesome about this place. We don't get flooded with day skiers.
Right.
So I had never heard of it, but the boyfriend that I was with at the time that I moved here with, he had been here a couple of times, and he recommended that we move here, and then we came here in, I think, October to just kind of look at it, check it out, and I immediately fell in love with the scenery, and I was like, let's give it a try, and he was like, trust me, the mountain is really fun, you're gonna love it, and then he came up here and then saw the beauty, and I was like, all right, let's give it a go, and then everybody convinced me to stay for a summer, because they're amazing.
Of course.
And then, I was hooked.
And then, a couple other people mentioned it. It's like you get it. Yeah, you have to go season to season. All of a sudden, you're like, well, one more winter, and then one more and then then you've been here for decades. But
exactly.
What were you into in Colorado Springs? What did you do for fun there?
Well, I would snowboard, but we had to drive, so it was very weekend warrior status. Then skateboarding, I have two older brothers, and they both skateboarded, and so I wasn't too far behind them in age, and so I just tried to do everything that they were doing, including wearing boxers, and zagged my pants and tried to be a boy as much as I could.
Were you like, were there other girls skating, or were you like the only one?
There was some, there was a couple of us, but oftentimes I was just like the annoying little sister chasing my brothers around. So we'd skateboard. I didn't really ever mountain bike much. We did occasional trips, family trips and stuff, but not a whole lot of that. Mostly it was just kind of skateboarding. And but I played basketball and ran track in middle school and some of high school. Yeah. So you're an athlete. Yeah. Do you still skate, like here in Crested Butte? Yeah, a little bit. I as we talked about a little bit, I'm kind of accident prone, so the older I get, the less and less I skate, I suppose. Yeah. At least on ramps, but I love cruising around, because it's a little taste of snowboarding in the summer.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I saw somewhere that you're into horses too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've ridden horses my whole life. I guess I should have said that. It's one of those things because it's so natural to me. I just kind of
we got so many things going on.
But I started riding horses when I was like 8, and I did English equestrian in the Springs, so like jumps and stuff like that. Yeah, and then came out here and didn't find my horse connection for the first like 5 years, but was going crazy because when you're driving around anywhere on the highway, there's horses everywhere.
Right.
And I was like, somebody's got to have a horse that they want me to ride, that they don't have time to ride. There's got to be a connection. There's got to be a way.
Right.
And eventually I met some friends, and they started letting me ride their horses and taking me on trips with them. And so that's been really cool. And that's all Western out here.
Right.
So that's just trail riding. And that's been like a whole new experience, because English and what I was doing before was in an arena. And English is very like proper, you know?
Right.
And then now this is like loose rain cowboy up in the hills, drinking whiskey.
Right.
It's awesome, yeah. And just like the easiest, best way to be up there looking around at the mountains, because you're not stumbling when you're hiking, and biking you can't really look around because you break your neck.
This you can the horse is doing a lot of the work, so you get to look around.
Totally.
How does that work with someone else's horse? Do you like have to go and like pay them back somehow, like by taking care of the horse, or do you just get to ride?
They typically provide the horse and all the gear, all the tack, and then if I'm going out with them for a day, they usually come with, so it's not like I'm taking their horses. Right. Unless in some situations it's like we're all so close that we can do something like that. But basically that means that then if they're taking us out, we're providing the beer and the snacks. Okay. Yeah, so they provide all of that stuff, and then we provide everything else that we need throughout the day.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That works out for everybody, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
So let's talk about snowboarding. Switch it up. Let's go to winter. Cool. So you grew up snowboarding. You just mentioned that. So you moved here and you started to do snowboarding competitions. Yeah. And I guess I didn't really grow up snowboarding. I started doing it when I was 12. Okay. Because I'm one of 4. And I don't blame my parents for not wanting to cram us all in the van and drive up to Breckenridge and deal with 4 kids. And spend all that money.
Yeah, and then all of us lose our gloves and our goggles and all of us fight. And I give mad props to those families that can make it work, because I can't even imagine. Yeah. But so I didn't get to go till I was 12. And so that meant that my little sister was 9. And so that was the youngest, so that's a little bit more doable, I'm sure. Yeah. So we started then, but so pretty much that was like random whenever we could go, and then when I could drive, I would go every weekend with friends, and then moved here, and started riding every day, and really didn't have much intentions on competitions until the snowboarding extremes came back, because it had left maybe before I moved here. Yeah, there were a few years they didn't do it. Yeah, and it was just ski, and I loved going to the comps and watching the ski comps, but then it came back, and because of my passion for watching those competitions and loving this mountain and having like the camaraderie of the snowboard community out here, we were all like, we gotta represent hometown. And so we gotta sign up and we gotta do it, Yeah. And we took pride in our mountain, so we gotta do that. And then it went really well. And I got second place next to Susan Mole. Nice. And I was the first woman to receive the Young Gun Award. And so that was really exciting, and just kind of turned me on to competition land. And I started traveling and doing them after that. So the next winter is when you were able to do the world tour then? Or no? Or you had another winter too? I had probably... Let's see, it was 2009 when I did my first comp. And then I went on world tour in 2015. Okay, so it was a long... Yeah. Were there... Because I don't even remember. How many snowboard comps were there then, like in the States and Canada back then? 3, typically. There was only 3. So here... And they started bringing Canada back in kind of halfway through that. But so it was here, Crystal Mountain, and Snowbird. Okay. And then they do... and Kirkwood, too. So I guess 4. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, 4 of them. But you needed 3 out of those 4 to qualify. Like you needed a first place or something, or like a first or second at each one of those places to qualify. Gotcha. And I, for the longest time, had a really good record of like winning the qualifier day 1, and then going into day 2 and just like falling the whole way down the mountain or something. Or, finishing somewhere but not in the first place spot. So yeah. But then eventually it all came together in
2015, you said, or something like that?
In 2014. And it all came together here. I got my first official first place here.
Yeah.
And that was when we got to ride Hourglass.
Oh, nice.
In 2014, yeah. And that was that good year we had when we got the really heavy snow.
Right.
And everything stuck. And so everything in Hourglass was like solid. All the pillows were there.
Right.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So then you got to go to Europe, so tell us about that.
That was just incredible. The mountains over there are just something else, just so big.
Yeah.
And cute little cool mountain towns and taking the trains everywhere.
Yeah, it's easy to travel there for sure.
Very easy, yeah. And then I was lucky. I traveled with Francesca Paviard.
Okay.
And she has dual citizenship in Switzerland. So she's fluent in French and Spanish, so that helped a lot with the travels.
Oh, wow, that must have been huge, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that made things pretty clear, and she was familiar with some of the mountains, so she could kind of guide. So that helped a lot, and then obviously once we were on tour with everybody else, you have kind of a crew that you can cruise around with.
Yeah.
Which helps, because those mountains out there, I mean, they're just a whole nother ball game.
Yeah.
I mean... And, one of the main things we got lectured on, especially in Chamonix, they were like, don't follow a track. Because there's so many people that do, like, base jumping, ski base jumping. That, like, if you follow their track, you're going to end up on top of them.
Or a whole bunch of rappels and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, tons of rappels, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you're getting on the chair and people in front of you have, like, harnesses and ropes and ice picks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Like, with your backpack, maybe. It's crazy.
So, which resorts had comps there then in Europe?
So I got to go to Chamonix was the first stop, and it was on Mount Blanc, and then it went to Austria, and that actually turned into the best part of my tour in Europe because while you're the week that you're competing, everything's paid for. Your lift tickets, your hotel, your food, like 100% like pro status. You know? And so that also can, be prolonged if there's weather days in between and they can't run the comp.
Yep.
And so Austria turned into a couple of weather days at the first stop, and then they were also having a tough winter, and so their usual venues I don't think were available. So they had us in this sort of smaller venue, and then there was a couple of big crashes in the beginning of the competition that kind of just like screwed up the landing area that they knew a lot of people were going to go, and so they decided that was going to be too dangerous to have people run the comp and potentially land in bomb holes because they had to heli a girl out, so there was like footsteps everywhere and like all this, it just screwed it all up. Yeah. And so they canceled the comp. And so that turned that first part into like a week and a half free trip. And then they moved us to another mountain. And then this guy was in an avalanche in the comp. It like broke on him in the middle of this kind of shelfy section. He had to pull his airbag and everything. But he was fine. But then they had to cancel that.
They canceled that one again.
And then it just started dumping. And so like we had basically like a free 2.5 week trip in Austria.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that was just amazing. Yeah. And those mountains are incredible. Austria was my favorite place, I think.
Really? Over Chamonix?
It just had like kind of a different feel to it. Like it wasn't as high intensity, kind of gnareness all the time. It had the mountains itself too. I felt just had more like crazy gnar up top, and then the rest of the way down is super flowy, bouncy, like so you can kind of get a mixture of it all, and you're not kind of just like intense the whole time, like not knowing where you are. But that could have also been that Chamonix was the first stop for me, and those mountains, like we were saying, are so intense to take in.
Those in particular too.
Those ones in particular. Wow. I still had a blast in Chamonix, and it was amazing. But Austria was just super fun. And then we went to Andorra.
Okay.
And we had 2 comps there because they staged what would have been the Austria comp in Andorra.
They moved it. Okay.
So, but on just 2 different venues.
Nice.
And so that was exciting, and that area was really cool. It actually kind of reminded me of Colorado in a way.
Yeah, Andorra, I briefly spent some time there, and I could see that. Yeah, just a little bit. There's a little less alpine, a little less huge.
Yeah, more trees.
Yeah.
And just kind of looking out at the terrain and kind of like remind me a little bit more of home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a quick break. Today on the Crested Butte Real Estate Minute, I thought I would read a recent review that was published online. So here we go. Frank was awesome to work with on the purchase of a vacation/investment property in Crested Butte. This was the first time we seriously looked at a vacation property and had a ton of questions. Frank was very knowledgeable and patient and tirelessly answered all of our questions, including those about HOAs, property management companies, etc. He has great insight into the local Crested Butte market and helped us find a property within our budget and never tried to upsell us. Highly recommended. Thank you so much, Derek and Kristen, from my hometown of Golden, Colorado. And for those of you who don't know, my website is crestedbutterealestateagent.com. You can go there and find my contact info, and I would love to talk to you if you have any questions about buying or selling real estate in Crested Butte and Gunnison. Let's change the subject a little bit. On a bad note, it's a good note too, but you broke your femur recently, so tell us a little bit about how that happened.
Yeah, it's a bad and good thing, I guess. A lot of good things came out of it, and I was extremely lucky in an extremely unlucky situation. Mm-hmm. A lot of things could have been worse, so I, from the get-go, have always counted my blessings for that.
Yeah.
We were snowmobiling out in the backcountry, and I didn't see a hole that was melted out from the creek bed, and just kind of didn't realize it until I was going in, and then just T-boned the uphill side and flew forward, and I guess maybe my knee must have gotten caught, or my foot must have gotten caught maybe.
In the foot pegs, yeah.
Excuse me. And so I flew forward and hit the handlebars, and that just demolished my femur.
Yeah.
Broke it in half, and then broke the top half in half, and then tossed me off into the snow. And I knew right away that it was broken.
It wasn't just a bruise, yeah.
No, it was one of those when you get hurt and it's really intense pain and you're waiting for it to subside, and it usually does, and then you're like, okay, I can breathe. It just didn't do that.
Right,
so I was like, okay, something's really wrong. And so then it was a whole ordeal. I had to lie out there for 2 hours until search and rescue could get to us, because there was no moving me. Like, the crew we were with, like, they couldn't get me out of there.
Yeah.
You know, unless it had been compound and I had threat of bleeding to death or something.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case, so they got me comfortable, got me dry, as comfortable, I guess, as they could have gotten me. And then got me out. They did an amazing job. Search and rescue did a good job.
So you said 2 hours by the time you called and they got you?
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah, it's not bad.
You had cell phone service, I think.
Yeah, that benefited that.
Huge.
You know, if we were in other areas, which, I mean, that's pretty close. You know, where we were, and like, it was probably only, 12 miles out, would you say?
Yeah.
And that's close compared to how far you can get out.
Oh, yeah.
On a day,
yeah.
You know? And majority of the places we go, there's no cell phone service.
Exactly.
I mean, I barely get cell phone service at my house.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so we're just lucky with it over there. And so that helped, because they were able to, you know, communicate with them, and they were able to tell my guys, like, what to be looking for and what to do to help me.
Yeah.
And so then they had to, you know, do their protocol to gather everybody to come up, and then it was a 2-hour evacuation after that.
Okay.
So about 4, and then by the time I got to the hospital, it was probably about 5 hours.
Yeah.
6 hours to surgery.
Sure.
So it was quite the ordeal. But like I said, so many things could have gone way worse.
Yeah.
And I'm super grateful and thankful to everybody that helped me that day. It still is something I remember, like, piece by piece. I could go into detail and take a full review.
I'm sure. Well, we don't...
But, you know, so then I had surgery, had a rod installed in my femur that kept it together by an amazing doctor, Dr. Elfenbein, who, I hope nobody ever needs, but if they ever do, I highly recommend him.
Where's he at?
He's in Gunnison now, but he's working on getting an office up here. But he was working with Griggs.
Oh, okay.
And then he broke off and started doing his own thing.
Okay.
And he has a ton of credentials. He's incredible.
Nice.
Yeah. And how he took care of me, I'm just entirely grateful to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, a rod, a couple screws later, 3 days later, I'm at home, and then that was a whole process. And all of this happened December 10th. So right in the beginning of the season, and we had a really good season. Start to the season.
This was December 2016, so the 16-17 season. Okay.
And it just didn't stop snowing. The second I broke my leg, it started snowing, and then it didn't stop until February when we had that dry spell, I think.
Right. Yeah.
So that was torture.
Yeah. No, I'm well aware. My wife had her knee surgery about a month before you had your femur surgery.
That's right. That's how we kind of bonded over that.
Yeah, totally. So.
And it's brutal seeing everybody else having fun while you're laid up. But,
yeah.
But you also experience a lot of love and a lot of support from the community.
I'm sure.
And this community came forward tenfold for me. People were stopping by every day with casseroles and foods and soups.
Oh, that's awesome.
And, just coming to hang out because they knew I was probably going crazy. And, so there was a lot of love. And like any horrible thing that happens in life, you get to experience a lot of love out of things like that too.
Yeah.
And,
no, I mean, that shows you what Crested Butte is and your friends and your family. And
100%.
That's awesome.
I had a fundraiser and they threw it at the talk, and my boss at the time helped organize that, and people came through and they raised me $3,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was huge. I hadn't worked in 6 months.
You weren't working. You had medical bills, the whole deal.
Totally.
Yeah.
So that was an emotional event for me.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. And actually, that'll just take us right in there. So speaking of the talk, you are now the owner of the Talk of the Town.
Yes.
So how did that happen?
Well, it was crazy, being that the leg thing had just barely kind of stopped being an issue. In July last summer, Joel, my old boss, came to me and said he wanted to sell, and that either I was going to buy it or he was going to put it on the market. And it was important to him to keep it in the family because the Talk has been passed down from owner to worker from the beginning.
How many times?
So I'm number 4.
Wow, that's super cool.
Yeah, and so that's why he was like, it's really important that we do it this way. But if I wasn't interested, he was, ready enough to move on with his life that, he would have put it on the market, would have sold. And who knows, they might have kept it the same. They might not have, though. It's their space. They can do whatever they want.
Sure.
But the Talk is, it's just always, it's been 35 years. We had the 35th anniversary in December. And so it's just kind of always been the Talk, and it's just been the local drinking hole, and slightly divey. Started to get a little more divey, and now it's like clean dive. I'm cleaning it more. But it's okay because that's people just want somewhere mellow to relax. There's no dress code. You just be who you are, and I think lots of tourists respond well to that, and obviously the locals need a place like that to go, And so I couldn't let that go away, and I've worked there for 8 years, and so I cared about it. And, and I had also thought about it. I'd kicked around the idea, could I do this? And then the opportunity was there, and at the end of the day, I said, I love Crested Butte, and this is where I want to be. This is the community I want to be in. And it's a huge leap, and especially coming off of last winter, I just wanted to get back to my life and get back to snowboarding, and just be selfish again, in that sense. But this was an opportunity that could grant me a passage to be here even longer, and put some roots into this place, and that in the end I decided was the most important part, and that it's scary to take any risk, but you never know unless you give it a try. Nothing
ventured, nothing gained, right?
Exactly.
So what changes have you made since you took over? I've seen a few, but
nothing big. Mostly just facelifting.
Yeah.
It needed a feminine touch, I think.
Yeah.
And no disrespect to the fine gentlemen that have run it before,
right?
But it needed a feminine touch, and so it just rearranged some things, and I painted. But that kind of, I think, had to happen because every owner has kind of had their theme,
Yeah.
So I painted a different color in the inside, the outside staying the same. But working on today, that's getting freshened up. So I got a crew over there working on that. And then the inside, I put a different paint coat up, moved the moose into a different spot. And that moose has been in there from the beginning too. And he's been bounced around from different places downstairs. And his name is Waldo Peckerhead.
That's something new. This is good to have some local knowledge
totally.
now.
He's a Canadian moose.
Okay.
He was gifted, or a friend of Donner, the woman who owns the building still and started the bar back in '82. Her friend called her up, I believe, if I'm remembering this correctly, called her up and asked her if she wanted this moose. She found this moose at like a garage sale or something. And it was like, do you want this moose for the bar? And so some way or another, they got the moose down from Canada, and he's been in the bar ever since.
Wow.
Yeah. And so he's rotated spots.
Yeah.
But
I believe I lost a jacket that I set on his head and totally spaced, which probably a lot of people have done.
Yes. They get lots of part of working happy hour is just the next day people coming in looking for their things and their credit cards.
Right, totally. So do people have to kiss the moose on their 21st birthday?
I'm trying to get that going.
I was going to say, because I went to school in Boulder, and there's a buffalo at a bar there that I definitely kissed on my 21st birthday, because that was the thing.
I'm trying to get that going.
Yeah, nice.
Some people are, I think, kind of weirded out by it, but I'm definitely going to try to make that a thing.
Yeah. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
So it seems like there are a lot of women in Crested Butte that are entrepreneurs and small business owners. Like people have pointed it out, and then you think about it, and you're like, "Wow, you're right." Why do you think that is, or what? Like,
I don't know. I think there's just a large number of extraordinary women here, just like bad.
Yeah.
Say ass. Bad.
Sure, you can say badass.
Badass. There's a lot of badass women up here, and they're just out to do everything that they can possibly do, the same thing that I said, to ensure their life here.
Yeah.
And I think that I don't know. I think it's a mixture of that, and then this community just being not so much stuck in these old traditional ways that you have to be, a man to accomplish some things like that or something, I don't know. And not that that's like that in a lot of other places, but it is still very much alive,
Yeah. Have you experienced that? Like, have you called a distributor or something? They're like, who are you again? Or anything weird?
There's been some things for sure. That's starting to not be as much of the case now that I'm a little bit more established, but it's still there, and it's still alive in the whole world and the United States and every working community. That's an issue. But that's where I do think that this town is a little different, because the community, I've experienced even just through snowboarding, like, people support me just as much as they do other guys in the town when it comes to snowboarding, and I don't think that they necessarily separate us, like, if you're good at snowboarding, you're just good at snowboarding.
Totally.
Or if you're capable and respected enough to maintain a customer base, then it has nothing to do with if you're a guy or a girl, or, because at the end of the day, it's what's on paper, it's what you do. It has,
Yeah, totally.
Proof is right there in front of you. So. But I just think that this community just holds each other up so much that, like, you don't necessarily get defeated down or beat down so quickly.
Yeah.
Maybe in like a harsh big city where it's like all about who you know and that's it,
Yeah, totally. What, so the talk of the town is, it's a bar that stays open late, usually, and you're the owner, so you're probably there late. How's that working for you and your snowboarding and
Well, that
balancing?
Was tricky this winter, for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm really fortunate because we have an extremely good crew there.
Yeah.
And everybody that's been working there has been there for a long time, and I trust all of them. I really do. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to, is I trust them. And I figure as long as I line everything up properly to ensure that they're staffed up, that there's a door guy, that there's a backup bartender, that I've ordered everything properly, and that everything's stocked up.
Totally.
Everything that I can do to prep them to have a successful night, and then trust them and turn away and go home,
Yeah.
Which is the hardest part when it's your baby and it's your money and it's your business and your liability. But with trust, and I know that I know that I can trust them, and I know that I have to, because snowboarding is still such a part of my life. And that was the thing I debated the most with going into this.
Sure. Balancing your time.
Because I know I need it. You know, snowboarding is that's my therapy.
Yeah.
You know, so I know that I can take a step away, and I just have to trust them, and I know that I can, and so there's no reason not to. Just go home, and they'll call me if they need me.
Yeah.
I live in town. I can be over there in 2 minutes, and otherwise, I know they got it, you know.
That's awesome that you have, you know, people who you can trust and are there and know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole key. I've known enough business owners, like, when you don't have that, then
you gotta be there.
Then you're chained.
Yeah,
for sure.
Totally. And that just seems miserable to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I prided myself on working like 3 days a week. You know,
totally.
Picking up shifts here and there, but like I was very much on the like me program where like I wanted to make sure that every day was a snowboard day, and like you know, if I didn't want to work late, I didn't have to. And obviously there's days that I have to be there late, like the busy crazy nights I'm there.
Sure. Yeah.
But you know, that's okay. And a lot of that's also just self-control. Like if I'm there till late and tired, but as long as I'm not drinking too much, then you know, I can kind of balance it a little bit.
Totally.
So it's a good exercise in self-control too.
I know that would be hard to own a bar and everyone's partying and not get sucked in too.
Totally. So I'm learning all sorts of fun new things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is awesome. Well, congratulations again on being the new Talk of the Town owner. And let's start to wrap it up. And we've already kind of talked about this and touched on it, but Crested Butte is home for you. So why do you still choose to make it your home?
Oh, man. There's so many reasons.
Yeah.
Well, we've already talked a great deal about the community. But then these mountains are something special.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to be able to access them so easily and just even look at them from whenever you get like a view through a window. Like there isn't a day that I don't look up at even Crested Butte from town and I'm not like, wow, that's a beautiful mountain, you know.
I know.
Like,
even years later.
Yeah. It's been 14 years and my whole life in Colorado. And there just still isn't a moment that I'm not utterly amazed by the beauty.
Yeah. Yep. Well, what if someone wants to learn more about you and your snowboarding and Talk of the Town, where could they go? Some websites or anything?
I'm working on getting a website for the Talk going. We don't have anything yet other than Facebook and Instagram. Okay. So Instagram, it's the Talk of the Town Bar. And then Facebook, just the Talk of the Town. And there shouldn't be too... Well, I guess there is some others out there in the world, but it's just pretty easy if you do
the Talk of
the Butte. Yeah, it's crazy. There's a lot of the Talk of the Towns. But if you Talk of the Town Crested Butte, they'll all pop up. Facebook and Instagram, I think, is the quickest and easiest way. Okay. And then maybe YouTube, my name. There's a few other interviews and cool things that I've done on there. Okay. So they could see some snowboarding stuff through that. And that'd probably be the quickest and easiest route.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anything else I should have asked or that you want to tell us about?
I don't know. I'm looking forward to summertime there. We're going to have live music every Thursday and Friday, happy hour.
Nice.
Free at the door, and we'll have the patio set up and lots of drink specials, and it should be a nice summer.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. Well, one last question. Who else should I interview?
Is this on the record?
Yes.
Jeez. Well, like we were saying, I think you should interview Carson at the Stash.
Okay. All right. I will check him out.
Awesome.
Cool. Thanks, Mary.
Thank you, Frank.
All right.